Hillary Clinton roasts Donald Trump at the Al Smith charity dinner, full speech. Donald J. Trump started this quadrennial practice in crusade quietude and self-expostulation on Thursday by contrasting himself with the child of God, simply one more craftsman working for his dad in his childhood. Before the end, confronting falling and uncomfortable scoffs from a group loaded with white ties and outfits, he had called Hillary Clinton Catholic-detesting, so degenerate and possibly imprison-bound in a planned Trump organization. "I don't know who they're irate at, Hillary, you or I," Mr. Trump said timidly from the dais, swinging to his rival in the midst of the pestering. It appeared to be clear to others. Mr. Trump was being booed at a philanthropy supper. So it went at the Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation dinner in Manhattan, a presidential battle custom of levity and faked warmth, overturned, similar to such a great amount of else in this decision season, by the powerful offer of Mr. Trump. Breaking with many years of custom at the get-together once he took the receiver, Mr. Trump set off on a rankling, grievance-filled execution that made an interpretation of inadequately to the stage setting, dazzling a large portion of the all-around healed visitors who had recorded into the Waldorf Astoria in for an unprecedented scene, an endeavored détente in a crusade so acidic that the competitors, under 24 hours prior, declined to shake hands on an open deliberation arrange. Relations did very little make strides. Mr. Trump's set started regularly enough. He clowned about the span of his hands and Mrs. Clinton's nearly little group. He even practically jabbed fun at himself, seeing that a humdinger about his significant other, and her somewhat counterfeited Republican tradition discourse, qualifies, while talking about the one-sided news media. "You need the verification? Michelle Obama gives a discourse, and everybody cherishes it," Mr. Trump said. "My better half, Melania, gives precisely the same and individuals get on her case." Some more keen jokes about Mrs. Clinton appeared to edge just in the line. "Just before taking the dais, Hillary inadvertently found me. What's more, she commonly said, 'Excuse me,'" Mr. Trump said, as mumbles filled the room. "I respectfully answered, 'Let me converse with you about that after I get into office.'" Mrs. Clinton, appearing to get the joke before some others, cried before the punchline. Be that as it may, rapidly, his comments took an all the more threatening turn. Mr. Trump said Mrs. Clinton was just imagining not to loathe Catholics, a mention to hacked correspondences from Clinton helpers that seemed to incorporate messages scrutinizing Roman Catholic conservatism. He pondered out loud how somebody like Mrs. Clinton, so degenerate, he said, could offer herself to the American individuals. "What's her pitch?" he inquired. "The economy is busted, the administration's degenerate, Washington is falling flat. Vote in favor of me." He fake-fussed that every one of the jokes were given to her ahead of time. He seemed to deride the Clinton Foundation's oft-censured endeavors in Haiti. "As some of you have seen, Hillary isn't snickering as much as whatever remains of us," he said. By then, he had conclusively lost the room. With respect to Mrs. Clinton, she started with some simple self-censure. "I enjoyed a reprieve from my thorough rest calendar to be here," she said, including, "More often than not, I charge a considerable measure for talks this way." In any case, she immediately swung to all the more cutting parody, kidding that Mr. Trump was deciphering from the first Russian on his elevated monitors and pondering exactly how President Obama may have the capacity to visit the White House for a gathering of previous presidents under a Trump organization. "How is Barack going to move beyond the Muslim boycott?" she inquired. She likewise talked about the Statue of Liberty, describing how for most Americans, the Green Woman of Opportunity speaks to a sparkling encouraging sign and an appreciated image for settlers landing on the country shores. In any case, Mr. Trump, she included with a gleam of steel, takes a gander at the Statue of Liberty and sees a not really hidden reference to his remarks rating the physical appearance of ladies. perhaps a 5 on the off chance that she loses the light and tablet and changes her hair, she proceeded, before making an unequivocal, if unobtrusive, pitch for turning into the country's first female president. Came to think, know what might be a decent number for a lady? 45, she finished up triumphantly. At the supper before the comments, the match could be seen visiting, at any rate quickly, situated 2 seats separated, with just Cardinal Timothy M. Dolan, the diocese supervisor of New York, between them. Maybe just a godly man could, for a night, relieve a crusade that has incorporated a FBI request, overnight Twitter gorges, different allegations of sexual unfortunate behavior and a worldwide quarrel between the Republican chosen one and Pope Francis. Prior to the competitors spoke, Alfred E. Smith IV, the director of the supper, which benefits Catholic foundations, appeared to offer a review of what may anticipate Mr. Trump as he tries to come back to New York society life should he not win the White House in November. Prior to the supper began, Trump went to Hillary and asked, "How are you?" Mr. Smith said, holding up a beat. She said, "I'm fine, now escape the women's changing area." Indeed, even under the best of conditions, Mr. Trump is not known for an excitement to chuckle at himself. A veritable cooking at Washington's yearly Geek Prom, the White House Correspondents Association's yearly supper, in 2011 may have hurried, or even catalyzed, his offer for the Oval Office. What's more, now a hailing presidential crusade, most surveys place him a few rate focuses behind Mrs. Clinton broadly, has done little to offer assistance. At that point there was the visitor list. Notwithstanding Mrs. Clinton, Mr. Trump was encompassed on the dais by arranged enemies from his political and expert life. Michael R. Bloomberg, the extremely rich person previous New York City leader who has vocally restricted Mr. Trump's offered, was roosted in the primary column, just before the applicants. Furthermore, Eric T. Schneiderman, the New York lawyer general, whose office has opened an examination concerning Mr. Trump's establishment, was situated a sheltered separation away in the back. No less than one Trump partner, previous Mayor Rudolph W. Giuliani, attended what is, amid even common race seasons, a quintessentially New York occasion, pressed with nearby political pioneers and power intermediaries. This year, it so happens that 2 New Yorkers can likewise be found at the highest point of the ticket. One appeared to have a ton of fun on Thursday than the other. Mr. Trump sat with his arms firmly collapsed as Mrs. Clinton talked, a comparably rigid grin over his face. In any case, when Mrs. Clinton came back to one his most loved subjects, her well-being, he appeared to be immediately floated. Mr. Trump, Mrs. Clinton said, had valiantly sent an auto to ship her to the supper. Really, it was a funeral wagon, she said. At last, Mr. Trump chuckled with genuine euphoria.